Hi, I'm Rosie. I'm Product Director at IFX Payments.
And I'm Anthony, and I'm Finance Director at IFX Payments.
So we're talking about payment security challenges. You're a financial professional. What do you think are the biggest payment security challenges at the moment?
So one of the challenges that we are facing here at IFX Payments is, as a finance team, as a business, we're growing quite rapidly, both with headcount here in the UK, but also geographically in new locations.
Yeah.
And what that might mean is that we might need to have finance teams in different places that aren't within arm's reach. And one of the controls that I'm pretty concerned about is the accessibility to our payment platform. Who is accessing it? Are they who they say they are? And what access do they have within those payment systems?
So I think that there's two elements to that question, right? There's the accessing point. So are the people who access the platform exactly who they say they are? And second of all, once they've accessed the platform, what do they have access to within it? So what permissions do they have? It means they can see things and do things. So on the access side of things, I think having controls in place like secure customer authentication is really important. Not just relying on emails and passwords, which can be compromised, but also having a second layer using things like biometric data, for example. On the second point, I think relying on permissions and making sure that you're segregating the duties between the people in your team. So creating processes like second eye, so some people can create payment, other people can authorize that payment to go. Also really thinking carefully about access to data. That's a really important part of financial payment processing. We've got a lot of regulations around that subject as well, things like GDPR, which give us information on the way that we can handle data. But that's something to think about, I think, within your team as well.
And also, one of the challenges that we have, as you mentioned, you've got access to the platform, you are the right person.
Yeah.
There are tools in place such as workflows and segregation of duties, but us in finance, we are humans, we do make mistakes. What kind of tools could be in place to help reduce those mistakes?
Yeah.
And then maybe even after, in the event that a mistake has happened, is there anything that can be done to try and reverse that mistake?
Yeah. So, in this kind of environment, human errors happen, definitely. So what we want to do is make sure that we are creating processes where it's easy to do the right things and there's friction to do the wrong things. So taking a sort of error-based approach where you're looking for issues in that journey, in that payment flow, sort of analysing each section to see, right, what are the tools and services perhaps we can leverage here to ensure that more positive outcomes occur and less negative outcomes occur. So using things like validation services, for example, is a really good way to ensure when you're sending payments, you're capturing exactly the right information up front, which gives a better chance for that payment to hit the beneficiary correctly. You mentioned about things can go wrong. In the event, there are tools that you can use like traces and recalls to get that funds back. But I think I would always recommend, if you're dealing with high volume of transactions, automation is kind of the way to go. That completely removes that risk. So if there's a high volume of transactions, a high event that's happening, the results of transactions, finding ways to automate that process is probably the best approach, I would say.
I agree. It's a really good answer.